Yeah, I think you do see it a lot just in social networks and how, when it comes to
Mhm.
readers, the books that speak to them and the way they cultivate photos or the way they talk about them. It's just like really cool. And I love the way you do it through blog form and through writing. So I'm interested a little bit in how you like do your writing process. How do you come up with your newsletters and your blogs and some of your best practices when it comes to blog writing?
So my newsletter is very different than my blog. The newsletter is really something that I look at as, an opportunity to just connect with people, and I can be as creative. I can do it any way I want to do it because I'm not chasing any type of algorithm. If I send an email, all of my subscribers are going to get it all the time.
Yep.
I can really do anything I want with it, and it's changed a lot over time. Sometimes it's been longer form. Sometimes right now it's a shorter form. Um, but when it comes to the blog, it's actually super, super technical. I basically run my blog on search engine optimization.
Oh yeah.
So the only way I could function as a business as a blog is to get a lot of eyeballs on my content. So if I'm not focused on social media, then the question becomes, how do you get eyeballs on your content? And search engines are a great way to do that. And so that's really what I'm looking at for my creative process is actually more, research driven as to um, what people are searching for, what problems they have, what I can answer, what's trending in the community, what's seasonal. So it's more driven at people who have problems and are searching for them through search engines.
Yeah, and I think you made a great point on two fronts. On the first side, when you talk about the newsletter, it is an audience that you more own. They every time you
Hmm.
talk to them, you know you're getting a full reach on that audience versus a social network where you may have a huge community, but it only that your content may have not have shown to this side or that side. So,
Hmm.
what is your thoughts when it comes to when it comes to that newsletter? Like, what are you looking for? Like, how do you write it? How do you make it? How do you change it each time you send it out?
I've done it different ways. And when I started it, I did it, the blog name is the literary lifestyle. So I did one part literature, one part lifestyle, and I would pick a theme and do something with literature on that theme and then something with lifestyle. So kind of just what we were talking about. Maybe I would give the book review and then a recipe that was inspired by it. Then I've changed it more into something that was kind of cool. Like I set it up kind of like a book. So I would have like an epigraph, which was, an inspired quote, then a little intro, and then I would call it the chapters. And chapter one would be new things. Chapter two would be things that were happening around the book world, and I kind of just pull in some of my favorite articles from the week and things like that, or big news in the book world that week. Part three would be like things that readers were currently loving, things that I was currently loving. It became hard to do it from a business perspective because it wasn't really monetized.
Yeah.
So now I've been working with a email expert,
Yeah.
and his perspective, which has changed things a lot in my business, is to do short form emails that get people back to your blog because really the only way I make money is if people are on my website.
Yeah. And so what was how's your like when you first started writing, what inspired you or what creative juice kind of started even like even if you're when you're younger or growing up, like
Hmm.
what really pulled writing out of you at a young age?
It's funny you say younger because I can take my blogging journey all the way back to literally being a toddler. Because I can still remember the first time I learned how to read and how exciting it felt to me. It felt like a superpower. And I remember, being really young and watching Reading Rainbow. And if you think about
Yeah.
it, Reading Rainbow is the literary lifestyle. It's mixing books and lifestyle. And I was really influenced by that. And then, it goes into things like, when I was in college, the internet and blogs were getting big. And I was an English minor, and I would take writing on the web classes and learn how to make a website and how to write on it. And then I went to law school, and I did personal blogging just as like a creative outlet, personally, just a very personal, private outlet that it wasn't, even though it's on the web, it still wasn't, the internet was different then. I was the only one reading it basically. So I can really take it across that time. And then before I started the blog, again, it was more like I was reading books and thinking about them, and it was like the only way I could really process this book was to write about it and kind of process those thoughts and emotions, because otherwise they would just eat up my brain all day. And it was before Bookstagram, so I was just, again, just doing it sort of on my own on this little notes app I had.
Yeah. And so then what ultimately prompts your topics for your blog?
Love seasonal things because it's also, it's how I read, and it follows that whole literary lifestyle mentality that lifestyle is very seasonal. So I love things that are seasonal, things that are trending and popular. Like Fourth Wing was a really big topic
Yeah.
last year and still is. And luckily I loved it too. And so I could really immerse myself in it. You mentioned literary fiction earlier, and that always does well. I love literary fiction. So and a lot of my audience does. So when I write about that, it tends to do well. I just did a Covenant of Water review a week or two ago, and I wasn't sure how it was going to do because the book's been out for a while.
Yeah.
But I think because it is that genre that I like and that my readers connect with, it did pretty well. So those are some of the things that I look for.